Hi, Dr. Havlick here from the Harriton High School Guidance Department. I'm the counselor with the end of the alphabet, students whose last names begin with the letters SH through Z. Today's PowerPoint presentation is designed to help you figure out which one that you want to take, SAT or ACT. SAT and ACT are standardized tests that the colleges in the United States all can use to determine your aptitude for college. We aren't recommending either one, but we are trying to help you to figure out which one it is that you want to take when it's time to take your standardized testing for college and make a good decision as to which one's better for you. Please get out a pencil and a paper, and please be ready to take a quiz later. We also, in addition to the presentation, we also have a quiz that can further help you narrow this down and make a decision on this. Also, it's good at this point to tell you, a lot of colleges in the United States don't require the SATs or the ACTs. A lot of colleges will ask you to submit a graded paper, for example, in lieu of taking the SATs. A full list of all the colleges that are test optional, as it were, is available at fairtest.org. It's hundreds and hundreds of colleges do not require them anymore. So if you do have a hard time taking standardized tests, that might be a good option for you to consider as well, not taking the SAT or the ACT. Yes, all of them that require either accept both, if that makes sense. So this is all about which one you should take. Some kids do better on one, some kids do better than the other. We look at 7 key differences in this presentation. Some of them are a little more subjective than others. These 3 are somewhat subjective, but I think you'll find a kernel of truth in each one. ACT questions tend to be more straightforward. ACT questions are often easier to understand on a first read, and on the SAT you may need to spend time figuring out what you're being asked before you can start solving the problem. You'll see in some examples later that the way the SAT words its questions is a little tricky, a little gamey. The ACT is just plain speaking, if you ask me, but see for yourself. Here's examples. SAT puts it, what is your view of the claim that something unsuccessful can still have some value? ACT might say something like, in your view, should high schools become more tolerant of cheating? So you might pick that tone up. It might just be a little more direct, although some folks like the way the SAT talks, and that might appeal more to you, and you might feel more confident answering that kind of question. It all depends on you and how you feel about that. Yeah, the SAT has that emphasis on vocabulary too. You don't hear ardent wordsmith come up much in day-to-day conversation. It's not informal speech. So there's a little more formality. And again, it's testing you a little bit as it's presenting it. How would you like to hear the test is the real question. When you do make up your mind which test it is that you'd like to take, it's really easy to sign up and register. To register for the ACT, there's the URL for the SAT, and our high school code is the same for both, 394290. You get up there, you fill out your demographics, you tell them what you need to tell them, like when you want to take the test and where you want to take the test, and you pay your money for the registration fee. Some of the differences between these two tests are really kind of black and white and objective. The first one being that the ACT has a science section and the SAT does not have a science section. Plain and simple. If you are an excellent science student, you want to get credit for that, the ACT might be for you. On the other hand, conversely, if science is not your thing, maybe SAT makes more sense for you. Another very black and white straightforward difference between the two is that the ACT tests up to trigonometry. So if you're not there in the whole sequence in math yet, SAT might make more sense for you. You won't be at a disadvantage by not having trig. It'll be a more level playing field for you. Another very salient point is the SAT is broken up into more sections. They're shorter and there's more of them. ACT, bam, bam, bam. So if you feel that breakup is a distraction to you, the ACT might be a better way for you to go. But again, conversely, on the other hand, it may be that going back and forth between sections is refreshing to you and you might enjoy the break. What kind of test taker are you? That's really what we're asking here, and for you to make up your mind. Another difference, and this one's more along the subjective lines, college admissions counselors tend to look at more the composite of the ACT, the one big number that you come up with, whereas with the SAT, they're very likely to break it down to critical reading, math, and writing, and look at your sub-scores. So it depends. This one really depends on the admissions officer, whether they look at all of them or the composite or just the subsets. But there is a tendency in this area too. So that brings us to the quiz. If you haven't figured it out already, this is another way to kind of quantify where you stand on this spectrum, SAT or ACT. And I'll take a minute to just say another option that a lot of kids take advantage of is taking both and seeing which one is better for them on a national percentile basis, and then choose to do any further administrations in that area or simply to report the one in which you do better on. My personal and professional recommendation is not to feed into the hysteria of testing too much. It's a one-shot deal, and please know that your GPA is way more important than your SAT score. The colleges really want to know what you do over a 4-year term at your high school than what you did sitting in a room for 2.5 hours on some Saturday morning. It's obviously a better indication of what you're going to do at the 4 years at college. So without further ado, let's get into the test, the little quiz we have here. Pick up your pencil and paper. Do you like to read? Number 1, these are yes or no's. Would you say your vocabulary is lacking or you have trouble memorizing words? Number 3, are you likely to make careless mistakes on math exams? Number 4, do you enjoy science? Number 5, do you know when to use a semicolon? You can kind of figure out which one's which on here. Number 6, do you have a good knowledge of history, current events, or books? 7, are you the type of student who does well on tests if you study? 8, have you done trig yet? 9, how about logarithms? Have you done them yet? 10, do you have issues with timing? And then you can score this one yourself. If you answered yes to any of the questions except 6 or 10, give yourself a 1. If you answered no to questions 6 or 10, give yourself a 1. Add up all the questions. If your score is greater than a 6, then you might want to focus on the ACT. If your score is less than a 5, you might want to focus on the SAT. And if your score is a 5 or 6, you should try both and see which you are the most comfortable with. I hope this test and the presentation helped. As always, check in with your counselor for a hand with this. That's my agenda. Thanks for your attention.